Welcome everybody to another episode of the Nerd Continuity, where we talk about design, development, and all the other crazy stuff that we find online. I'm your host, Alex, and with me, as usual, my co-host, Chris Perko. Hello, Chris.
Hello, how are you doing today?
Pretty good, pretty good. How are you?
I'm doing great. It's actually a really nice, like 60-something degrees here today. It's like just gorgeous outside.
Oh, aren't you supposed to? No, you're not getting the storm like the polar vortex,
No,
whatever.
we got a little bit of it, but no, we got down into like the 20s, but none of this crazy like Antarctic weather that they got up in like Chicago.
Oh my God, yeah, it's terrible. Also here in Canada, luckily not on the West Coast, but on Central and East Coast is just terrible. It's just like I saw statistics that it was colder than Mars, which is not good, I guess.
Yeah, I've got family members that live up near Chicago, and they recorded themselves throwing boiling water into the air, and it like just immediately turns to snow.
My God, yes,
Yeah,
Jesus, it's getting.
I don't want to live up there.
Yeah, no, it's lovely places, but no, yeah, that's one of I think it's one of the main reasons why we never moved to the East Coast in Canada. Even if for
Yeah,
like for development and design in tech in general, Toronto, it's way better than Vancouver.
yeah.
It's way more connected to New York. There are more possibilities. But yeah, spending 3 months at minus 40 degrees Celsius is not doable. Like,
Yeah, it's crazy. I don't know how people live up there. I've heard great things about Toronto, but I couldn't deal with that
yeah.
cold weather.
Yeah, no, and summer is even worse, but whatever, it's fine. Let's not talk about the weather. These, like, we haven't been doing an episode of the podcast for more than a month,
Mhm.
I guess. Lots of things happened. What's up with you?
Oh, not much. I've been kind of between projects. I had one project that I was really wanting to start with Fitbit, and I was kind of building a lot of these like proof of concepts, trying to figure out how this all would work. And I just ran into limitations on the SDK, and it was really disappointing because
Mm,
I know that Fitbit themselves have released apps onto the store that do things like run in the background and can open themselves up, like the timer app. You can set a timer, you can go back to your main watch face, and when your timer's up, it launches itself, it tells you it's done, it alerts you. And as a regular developer, you don't have access to those things. So the project that I was really wanting to start a series on, I was like, I don't know if it's even possible anymore. So,
mm.
so that's been kind of put on hold. But today, I started a side project that I'm gonna probably do some live streams with soon, and
Oh,
it's
nice.
gonna be a Laravel app, and it's gonna be really cool. It's gonna be working with Laravel Forge and standing up sites. The way I want to start it is basically like, let's say you're working on a WordPress theme
Hmm.
and you want to show it to your client or to your friends or whatever, and you just need a staging environment that you can just say, here's my GitHub link,
Hmm.
it's a WordPress theme, give me a WordPress site that I can have like this, silly URL, like, crazy adventurous penguin dot whatever dot com.
Yeah.
uh, so it's kind of like a one click deploy to a staging site. So
Oh, nice.
yeah, I'm excited to work on that. It's going to be completely open source, so uh, I'm going to have it out there. It will be a paid subscription, just because
Hmm.
servers are expensive, and I don't know how
Ah.
many people are going to be using it, and I can't just have one little $5 server running for an infinite number of WordPress themes. So
Yeah, exactly. It's gonna be just WordPress for now, or you're thinking to implement other application that you can quickly deploy for the
yeah,
user?
so I want to do WordPress themes, WordPress plugins. If you have a plugin in a GitHub
Mm-hmm.
repo, just launch it, and also Laravel apps to start.
Oh,
I'd also like to move into like .NET Core apps.
yeah.
Just be a place to like, hey, here's my app. Here's a place to test it.
Mm-hmm.
Before you go to actual production and everything.
Yeah, and and I'm gonna play devil's advocate here because I'm really this is a really interesting project. It's something that, yeah, there's a massive roadblock if you're just a developer, you're not like a
Yeah.
sysadmin or DevOps, and you want to test your plugin or script or theme before releasing it. You don't have currently a platform that you can just load my plugin and see how it works on a
Mhm.
random WordPress installation. You have to set up an entire website in order to test it, right?
Right. Yeah.
And how do you plan to handle the security? Because sometimes if I'm
Mhm.
working on a private project, I don't want to really put it on a server somewhere, and I don't know if you're gonna keep the code or I can delete the code after I test it. How does it work?
Yeah, so you're talking about like from my perspective as owning the product that you're going to be uploading it to. Yeah, so they will be on my servers. So you'll just have to take my word for it that I'm not going to be stealing your code. But yeah, like I want it to be able to be like you only have a limited number of kind of slots you can take, just to limit the amount of servers that I'm going to be paying for.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's say you test it and then you're done with it. You can delete it. All the code will be wiped from the server. It's completely dropped. No backups are made. That is one thing I want to put out there for this. Is it's these are staging servers. So if something happens, I'm not a hosting provider. I'm not going to be the one digging in and being like, okay, well, here's a backup that we made. It's just a place to push your code, test it out, delete it, and that URL is destroyed. And the URL is just going to be randomly generated, like just random adjectives and a noun and dot the domain name. So as for security, like you'll just have to take my word for it that I'm not stealing your stuff.
Yeah, that's awesome. Actually, no, it's really good. You could also like have a default cron job that runs once a month, and if no one accesses that little thing like plugin or theme or that specific URL for a month, you can wipe out and destroy the staging server, just to avoid to have a bunch of dead apps up and running on your servers.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Forever, right? That could happen. Nice. What about the Fitbit thing? Like, do you think the SDK limitations were on purpose, or there's like some technical reasons that Fitbit didn't allow the full, the full openness that they, like all the aspects that you said they're using in their apps? So it's a limitation just for a third-party developer.
Yeah, I think it's just a limitation on third-party developers, and I think it's on purpose because the Versa and the Ionic are still fairly new. And before this, everything was kind of closed source. They were just like little bands that keep track of your steps and heart rate or whatever. And the new ones are, more like actual smartwatches. Yeah. So I think they're concerned about like battery life and things like that, where they advertise, hey, if you buy a Versa, it'll last you 4 days without charge. And it does. It does great. But if you install somebody's app that is constantly launching itself and just draining the battery, it's going to look bad on them, because they're not going to say like, oh, well, I installed this app and I know that that's what caused it. People are just going to complain and say your product sucks.
Yeah, your advertising is wrong, like fake advertising.
I think that's what it is. I hope that they change it in the future. Currently, when you publish an app, it does go through some kind of review process. There's no visibility into what exactly they're looking at. I don't know if somebody's actually looking at your code, or if they just launch it on a test app on a test device to see if it just doesn't blow up. So I don't really know what they're doing there. I would hope that they would allow us to do more and just be actually looking at our code to see like, okay, obviously you've got something in here that is launching the app in the background multiple times over and over and over again, versus somebody who's using it properly and saying, okay, we're waiting for this certain signal to launch it, or, something like that.
Interesting. Oh, we'll see how it goes. Oh, great side projects you're having there. That's fantastic.
Yeah. And what about you? We've heard a lot of things about Akira lately in social media.
Yeah, so much going on. Of course, I cannot stop and I don't sleep, and it's fine. But I should slow down a little bit. I started Akira, the Kickstarter campaign, and we're gonna talk about that later probably. But it's just I realized that it was just too massive of an app to build it by myself, so I'm trying to raise funds in order to hire other developers and work on it. And it's an interesting process. I think I will never do a Kickstarter campaign ever again in my entire life. It's terrible. It's giving me anxiety all over the place, and it's just no.
Is it just the platform, or just dealing with the marketing?
It's everything. The platform that you have to, like, every day at the end of the day, you get a notification. You get 2 emails. You get the emails of the updates, and you get the emails with the funds and the percentages, and then the stats that you're not hitting your goal, or if you do these, you're gonna hit your goal. And then you get bombarded. Like, literally, I had for the first 2 weeks an average of 5 emails per day by marketing representatives or crowdfunding podcasts or websites messaging me through the Kickstarter application saying, hey, your project is awesome, just give us $200 and we're gonna give you 10,000 leads, or give us $100 and you're gonna get like 1 million of email marketing for you. Like all this stuff, it's just nonstop. Notifications are coming everywhere. And then you have the other, like the silver lining, that a lot of users are excited about this, but if you don't release an update pretty much every day, they start sending you messages. Hey, is this project dead? Hey, why you didn't push any update? Like, oh my God, it's just so stressful. You need a full marketing team to manage this thing. And no, it's not okay, but yeah. And then I published my new website after probably 5 years. Yes, I published the WordPress theme that I was using. I literally did it 3 months before moving to Canada, which it was 5 years and a half ago. So wow. I've been running that website with the same theme for 5 years. I published it, and it was great. And we're going to talk about it later, because I decided to approach it in a completely different way, and it was really kind of enlightening and eye-opening the way that I did. But I guess we can start with the news. If you don't have any other updates or highlights of your past month or something.
No, I don't. We can start with the news.
Okay. Do you want to start with the first one? That it's kind of tiring talking about Facebook every week, because every day there's something worse coming out.
Yes. Yeah. And this, I don't know, this seems like the worst of all. I mean, you know, Facebook steals your privacy information and is not secure about it and everything. But, so Facebook has been able to launch these like enterprise apps on iOS, on iPhones, on iMacs, whatever, that give them certain abilities. And until now, we've just kind of heard that it's, just for developers to use and for whatever they're doing internally. But now it's been leaked that they have been, like, I guess, paying teenagers or young children to install these devices or install these programs on their devices. And they're stealing data outside of like Apple's ecosystem. So Apple's like completely shut that down. And it's just, I don't know, it's just alarming as to what links this company is going to go through to get information from people.
Yeah, they have no remorse, no regret, no shame. They're just gonna try to do everything. And I was kind of like reading some more in-depth analysis on this thing, and it all started because of a leaked internal document of Facebook about how they call these kids that they use, I don't know, they play Candy Crush on Facebook, and they ask their parents to use the credit card in order to buy, like pay to win, all this kind of stuff, loot boxes. And Facebook automatically stores the credit card information. So whenever the kids needs to increase or buy something else, it doesn't even prompt you anymore with, hey, you want to buy this? Just like automatically charges the credit card. And there were developers inside Facebook that say, oh, this is kind of bad. We should at least, hey, confirm your credit card number, insert the last 3 digits or whatever, just to confirm that you want to purchase this thing. And the management at Facebook like blocked this update. They say, no, we don't want that. It's fine, because it literally in the document is written the whales, which is the name that they use to like refer these children that they buy with parents' credit card. The whales will give us less revenues if we do this. It's literally written in the document, which is fuck. It's so sketchy and absurd. And all these things, like their Apple terms of use for the App Store prevents, like it specifically said, you cannot do this. You cannot trick the user in paying without prompting the user and confirming that you're buying something. And yes, Facebook used these, the Apple development program, they use these this workaround to bypass Apple's privacy policy, which is so sketchy.
Oh yeah,
it's stupid.
That whole company, it's crazy.
It's terrible. It's absurd, and they say that also Google did something like that, so Apple is looking into that. Which is Jesus. Yeah, no, it's absurd. Did you see the OPAD posts that Mark Zuckerberg did on the Wall Street Journal online?
No, I haven't seen that.
It's like came out a couple of days ago, and it's basically it's like I skimmed through it because more reading it, it was like more I was feeling the need to punch that guy in the face. But it's basically it felt like he was trying to convince himself that Facebook is a good thing and all the things that they're doing are good, and it's not an evil company. They're not trying to steal your data and trying to make money off of kids. That's the thing. Let's move on. On the next bit of news, a little bit of update from GitHub after the acquisition from Microsoft. Now free users, they have unlimited access to private repositories, which was a feature blocked behind the subscription model of GitHub. Like you needed to buy a pro account or a team account in order to have private repositories.
Yeah.
It's interesting because I think they're trying to chip away the market from like Bitbucket and GitLab, which they have private repositories for free available from like from the get-go. But all the other limitations of GitHub with the free repositories were in touch. So the fact that you cannot have more than 3 collaborators or other developers working on a private repo. Your pages, if you have a pro account, you have the ability to have a private repo that has pages that you can use as a sort of static website. And all these extra things are not included in this deal. It's just the private repositories, and a lot of users were concerned that GitHub was going to lose a lot of paid customers because of this. But it doesn't seem like it.
No, I think this was a really good move because, if you have more than 3 collaborators on a private repo, you're probably some sort of business. I paid for the private repos for a few months. I used to use Bitbucket, and I switched to GitHub because they offered like free private repos if you were a student.
Ooh.
And so I used my .edu account from my college days, and I just said like, oh, I'm a student. And then every couple of years they would just send me an email and they're like, hey, are you still a student? And I'd be like, yes. And
dude, do you want me to cut this part out from the podcast? It's fine.
No,
that's
no, they're bought by Microsoft now, so it's cool. But yeah, so I mean, it's like it was free for students, and I feel like private repos for individual developers should have always been free. I mean, you sometimes work on things that you don't want to share with people, or it's stuff that maybe you're not allowed to share. Like maybe I'm working on a proof of concept for my company, but I want it on my GitHub, but it's technically their intellectual property. So I really have to pay $7 a month just to put my code somewhere. I know.
Yeah, absolutely. It makes total sense, and it's good. Also, there was a comment in this article that you can find the link in the description of this podcast, of course. But it was a comment about all the fact that now that even private users can have private repositories, we won't see as many garbage repositories in the open right now, because people now, before we were kind of like concerned, oh, I'm going to put my code online, it's terrible, and then I'm going to abandon that repository and not touch it anymore. So GitHub is filled with abandoned repos with terrible code from 5 years ago. It's just like horrible things to look. But now with private repositories, you can avoid that. If you're working on something that you don't feel good on releasing it for everyone to look at, it's a good thing.
Oh yeah, I mean, half my GitHub is a graveyard of code projects that never completed or were so long ago they're just terrible stuff.
Yeah. Do you think Microsoft hates us because we are filling their servers with what is this garbage project that no one uses it?
Yeah, I hope that they don't make GitHub follow the same pattern that they did with Azure.
Oh.
Where when Azure was young and new, it was really cheap. They were giving away free credits. Everything was free or really cheap. And then you fast forward a few years and it's just extremely expensive. So I'm hoping that they don't, like trick you and get you like, oh, look, you've got all these private repos, but now all of a sudden it's, $400 a month. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, that was the fear of everyone just right after the acquisition, right?
Yeah.
But Microsoft started releasing more and more features. Like you have now the actions, you have the ability to move issue reports from a repository to another. There are a lot of these extra things that GitHub didn't see much improvements, like a fast improvements in the past 2 years, like we're seeing in the past 2 months after the Microsoft acquisition. So definitely there's more. Like having more money, it's good for a company like GitHub. But I think they're gonna I don't think they're gonna do it because it's gonna be like a massive outrage. It's not like Azure that it's their product, it's a commercial product, that's it. GitHub is a massive open source community. It's used by the open source community, and it's just gigantic. And it's like shutting down and putting everything behind a paywall would be probably the end of it. If not the end, like a massive hit. Negative hit. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. I kind of like how it's weird with Microsoft, because even for like the next bit of news, but they have these, it seems like it's a company split in half, because from one side they're doing a lot of great things for open source with Visual Studio Code, and with GitHub they're improving a lot, and then they release those 60,000 patents for free, and then like a lot of great stuff. But from the other side, like Windows is a terrible spyware, and they still haven't released any source code from Windows itself. Like they released the Windows 98, like 1% of the source code, just something like that. So it feels like a company that is doing two different things at once. They're opposite. So people still have doubts about the good intentions of Microsoft. But
yeah, and I mean, I wish they would open source at all. I mean, when they took .NET, which was a very closed source, software development platform for like everything, web, desktop, and then they made .NET Core and they open sourced it, and it runs on Linux. They had so many contributors, like right off the bat. People were just jumping in there and fixing issues and adding to it. And I feel like if they could do that with just Windows, maybe we wouldn't see releases that delete all your files and, crash your system and everything. So, I don't know why they keep it so closed. I don't know. They always seem to be behind on things. Like the Windows Phone was late to the game, and they never had any apps, and so it failed. The Windows Store was years behind Android and iOS, and are you surprised? No developers are writing for it.
Oh yeah,
and
no,
so
that's true.
It's like, why would I write a program for a platform that serves millions less than people are downloading from iOS or Android? So I don't know. They always seem to be behind everybody.
Yeah, that's true. There was a little bit of news from the Linux Unplugged about a developer from Microsoft putting on its LinkedIn profile like a little excerpt saying maintainer of the open source Windows Core OS, which is something that Microsoft never released. They never announced something like that. And people started like guessing or just going down the rabbit hole. What's the open source Core OS? It's a open source version of Windows, or it's the next level of the Linux subsystem for Windows, or stuff like that. So there are these rumors that Microsoft is actually building their own personal Windows based on Linux. It's like a fork of Linux called Core OS, and they're gonna release this partially open source Windows variation, but who knows? It's so weird.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah. Moving on, SkySilk, our beloved sponsor of the show and our beloved overall great VPS service that I love and use, and I keep recommending it because it's really fast, it's really cheap and affordable, started this new User Spotlight program, which is phenomenal. Basically, you can, for free, sign up, and talk about your project. If you have an app that you're building, or you're building a new website or a web app, or whatever you're building, something tech related, of course, is not, you cannot sign up and, hey, I'm building a new chair made of steel. No, I don't think it's allowed. If you sign up, you describe your project, you could get picked and get promoted by SkySilk in their blog posts, in their mailing lists, in their social accounts, and they will give you also $500 in account credit, which is phenomenal because SkySilk, like a cheap VPS from SkySilk, is like $5. A really good one is $5 a month. So with $500, you have 100 months of free cloud computing.
$500 goes a long ways, especially if you do have an app where you need to utilize multiple servers and you're trying to get it off the ground. $500 was gonna, give you several months of multiple servers running, and I mean, that's just an awesome deal.
Yeah, exactly. It's really great. So there's a full list of all the things that they accept, like web application, video game, mobile apps, open source project, networking, automation tools, and other stuff. So yeah, you can find the link in the description. Just go there. Just a simple Google form. Sign up. They're awesome guys that are trying to compete with this gigantic monolith of companies that they're getting in your way and using just a simple private cloud computing platform that it's run by humans, and they're not trying to steal your data. It's great. Just use SkySilk. It's really good. Moving on. Do you want to talk about this?
Yeah, this is interesting, and I'm actually kind of sad about it. So I want to see about your opinion.
Yeah.
Microsoft is ditching Edge, which it's only been a few years, I guess, since they've been working on Edge,
like
and they're switching to using Chromium to build a new browser, and they're asking Mozilla to do the same thing. As much as I love Chrome, especially for development, the dev tools are amazing, and I know Firefox, I need to revisit it because their dev tools, I've seen a lot of good things, especially with like CSS Grid. But for them to switch to Chromium, it's like they're admitting defeat. People are logging into Windows or installing Chrome, and even with all the warnings that Windows gives you saying, why are you installing this piece of crap? You shouldn't be using Edge. It kind of saddens me to see like the diversity of browsers kind of shrinking. It's like, I want them to all use the same standards. Like if I make a certain tag, like it should work the same in all browsers. But I hate to see like the competition just kind of disappear.
Yeah.
I kind of liked having different browsers pushing the edge, and usually Chrome was the forefront of that, of oh, we're going to implement Flexbox, we're the first ones to do Flexbox or whatever. But to see them all kind of just become Chrome, like I don't know.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. It's kind of weird, especially, yeah, it doesn't look good for Microsoft having like pushing Edge and like almost harassing people if they were trying to use Chrome or Firefox on Windows. Hey, you should install this because it's faster, it's better. And it was just a piece of garbage. Like Microsoft has never been able to create a decent browser in 20 years. I don't know why, but yeah, they're gonna use this Chromium base that actually I think they're gonna use Blink, which is the render engine that Chromium and Chrome use to just render the web. And I totally agree with you. It's weird. Like if you don't have competition, it's easier to not push innovation because you don't have anyone to run away from, or you don't have anyone to compete with. And so if everyone switches to Chromium-based browsers, basically Google will, or like the Chromium project will decide how the web will look like. Yeah,
exactly. And so I'm really hoping that Mozilla doesn't do the same. I think Firefox is a fantastic browser, and I love competition. I like to see what different browsers are going to come up with and how they're going to render things and compete with each other. So I'm really hoping that doesn't happen. Edge I thought was definitely a step above IE.
Oh yeah.
It was definitely not something you want to use for development. Like their dev tools are just terrible. It looked like they were just ripped right out of IE. But I thought the browser itself was decent. Still not up to speed with like what Mozilla and Google have done, but Yeah, it's this was kind of shocking to me. I can't believe that they're already just saying like we're going to a Chrome model.
Yeah, and it was also shocking for this guy like Kenneth Ackenberg, which is the Microsoft program manager, literally
Mhm.
tweeting to Mozilla this stupid ass tweet like tots. It's time for Mozilla to get down from their philosophical ivory tower. The web is dominated by Chromium. If they really cared, quote unquote, about the web, they will be contributing instead of building a parallel universe that's used by less than 5%. Like, first, fuck off. Like, what? Like, how, like, what was, like, how bad was your day for you to decide, okay, I'm gonna go on Twitter and just make a fool of myself by the ivory tower, philosophical ivory tower, Mozilla? Mozilla is open source and they're doing good things for the community, for the web. And
Mhm.
if everyone was following the Microsoft proprietary bullshit, we wouldn't be here. And whatever, just it's such a closed-minded tweet that doesn't account for accessibility, doesn't account for
Yeah.
competition, it doesn't account for just even the base things of having a choice. Like, he
Mhm.
doesn't care at all. And the answer for the Mozilla developer, who was like amazing, just on point, he answered, just because your employer gave up on its own people and technology doesn't mean that others should follow. So good.
Oh yeah.
It's a weird move from Microsoft, and also this, I don't know if it's a PR stunt or this guy just drank too many glass of wines and just decided to go on a tantrum on Twitter.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's not. And also there's a serious technical questions behind this decision, how it's going to impact all those softwares that government uses, or like all these really old or big type of businesses or like public sectors. They use a lot of software that they only work on Internet Explorer.
Mhm.
For example, the bank, like banks, they have these proprietary softwares that they still have to run on Windows 7 with Internet Explorer.
Yeah.
They're not even compatible with Edge because of the different type of technology. Like, so Microsoft is ditching completely that. No more updates, no more bug fixes, nothing. What the hell?
Yeah, I mean, my wife's prior job before we moved to Georgia, in order for her to download her tax documents every year to file taxes,
Mm-hmm.
she would have to open it in IE and open the page and download it because you could not get it to work in any other browser.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's crazy, but I mean, even my job now, we're supposed to support IE 11. The latest part of our project, I've told them that they have to use Chrome because it generates so many DOM objects with like these maps and all these dots everywhere. I was like, Internet Explorer just freezes, so you just cannot
Yeah.
handle it. So we've told them like, go on from this point on, you have to use a modern browser, like, you know.
Yeah, I don't. It's just silly. Yeah, see, like Microsoft opens GitHub free repositories for everyone and then does this shit. Like, what's
Yeah.
happening? Like, is the management like everyone has a piece of Microsoft and they decide what to do, or there's not like a single voice that decides the direction of the company? Just so
Yeah.
weird. Wow. Whatever. I'm on Linux, so I'm fine. This is
That's right.
okay, moving on. Oh, the Laracon tickets almost sold out.
Yes, I saw them tweet, I think it was this morning or late last night, that they have less than 100 tickets for Laracon US. I'm sure EU tickets are either on sale or pretty soon will be on sale because usually the EU conference is shortly after the US.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're looking to go to Laracon US this year, be sure to get your ticket. I'll be there. I don't know if you're going to be going, Alex.
I don't think so, because I have some interesting things going on that I cannot talk about it right now. But in
Okay.
probably the next podcast, I will reveal everything. But
Ooh,
yeah,
mysteries.
mystery man. Yeah, so I'm not available, unfortunately. Are you gonna do like some live streaming or some live reporting from Laracon?
Yeah, I'll probably do what I did last year and just do like some live tweeting, especially about whatever this this mystery thing that Taylor keeps tweeting with like some kind of steam or what is that?
Another one.
Vapor, like Laravel vapor or something. I don't know. I can't think of anything else that he's possibly going to do other than a CMS.
What happened? It's just like talking about Laravel, he gets so excited.
Yes, I just started throwing things. Yeah, so like the last couple of years, I thought, I was like, oh, Nova's going to be a CMS. I thought, Telescope is going to be a CMS. Everything's going to be a CMS. So I feel like it's got to be a CMS, right?
Yeah, it's kind of like the missing thing, right? To just make every developers realize it's useless for you to build on top of Laravel. Just wait a year and all the things that you built are going to be released and available for you out of the box.
Yeah, I mean, we built something very, very similar to Nova, definitely not as in depth at work. Like we've been working on this thing and we just like launched it and then we go to Laracon and he's like, look at all this stuff. I'm like,
come
really?
on.
Really? Like I could just paid $100 and I would have saved me a few months of work. Like,
yeah.
Okay.
That's true. Yeah. I sent you the screenshot of our admin dashboard, which is partially identical to Nova and does everything. I was like, it took us like 3 months to build it. I would have loved to just pay $100 and having the same functionalities that I don't have to maintain, that I can get rolling releases of new features and bug fixes instead, because it's a custom thing. Now I have to maintain it and patch it every time, but yeah, whatever. So yeah, no, it's gonna be really exciting. Do you know if there are other presentation related to JavaScript, like the implementation of Vue.js 3 or Nuxt.js or stuff like that?
I haven't actually paid a whole lot of attention to the speakers. I'm sure Evan, you will be there again. Yeah. He was there last year, and so yeah, there's usually some JavaScript talks. I know last year there was a talk just on using. I don't think it was Jasmine. I forget the other test runner that she was showing us. But there were some more, something. But they were talking about more like JavaScript specific things, and so it's not. Oh, sorry.
It's all right. No. Nice. That's the new podcast soundtrack.
Yes, just the fire trucks from across the street.
Yeah.
I swear, it's like it'll be quiet for a couple hours, and then one of my mid-level developers will be like, hey, can you do a code review? I'm like, sure. Get on the call and it's just like all the trucks are out. It's like sirens. Yeah. But yeah, the Laracon, it's not all just Laravel. Some of it's more PHP specific, or like last year we had Uncle Bob. Do you know Uncle Bob?
No.
He did like he's done some books. He's done some pretty funny videos on like clean, what's he call itself? Clean architecture, clean programming.
Interesting.
They're really entertaining. Like he does all these like Star Trek like things. And, he was a guest speaker there, but he's not a PHP developer. So
interesting.
They get some other talks that are not just Laravel. I don't know if you could really just talk about Laravel for 2 days.
Yeah, no, it gets a bit tedious, right?
Yeah.
Interesting. I will check Uncle Bob. Like, never heard about him. Yeah. Like, it's like the web, it's full of these amazing people that explain kind of complicated things with like really simple terms. And one of like probably similar to Captain Disillusion, which I like, it's so funny, that guy. Do you know him?
No, I don't know him. I'll have to look him up.
Yeah, it's more about like visual design and 3D graphic and CGI, stuff like that. Basically, he gets these viral videos about crazy things that happen, and he debunks them by re-simulating what's happening in the video with a 3D software. He uses Blender, and he's great. It's just like so entertaining and funny that it's unbelievable. Yeah.
Okay, I'll check him out.
Yeah. Okay, so quickly moving on a couple of main topics that we have today. Basically, we want to talk about Akira a little bit, because why not? It's our podcast, so we want to publicize whatever projects we're working on and just be brutally honest. And then a little bit about the process that I had by building my website, where at the beginning I was trying to go against Gutenberg, and then I embraced it completely, and I have no regrets. So talking about Akira, just to quickly touch base about the shenanigans of the Kickstarter campaign, it's going kind of okay. Of course, it's kind of slow. It's a new project. It's something like I'm not a well-known figure in the open source community. I have my small community for design and development, and that's it. So it was really hard to convince people why I am the right person for this tool. Everyone was like, why should I give you money? You're no one. This project doesn't even exist. They cannot try it. There's not a demo. Never heard about it. And you're asking for a lot of money. So that was one of the biggest challenge. The other challenge that I noticed, and I want to talk with you about it, is a lot of people, they were asking why we need this tool if we have Inkscape or GIMP, or I can use Glade or QML editor. Like a lot of people were struggling to understand what's the point of this? Like we have alternatives. We don't need another tool.
Right.
What do you think about it? Like that struck me a lot. I was like, really? Is that the question that you have? Oh my God, it's so weird for me.
Yeah. So I don't know. Like the design world is, you know, I'm not a great designer. I've not used a lot of tools, but for me, like I have used GIMP and I've used Inkscape, and I feel like they have a purpose that's a little different than Akira. You know, like if you want to make some like SVG image or something like that, I think that one of those tools would be better for that. But if you look at something like, I've seen videos like, what is his name? Steve Sugar did like the what did he call that series? He did a few videos, the refactoring UI.
Oh yeah.
And he was using Sketch, which is a UX design tool, which is only on Mac OS, right?
Exactly.
You can't even get it on Windows.
Not at all.
And it's just like the tools for that are very specific for like UX. Like, okay, we need a set of icons here. We need background here. We need these things here. It's good for like prototyping that stuff.
Yeah.
Whereas I feel like the other tools are more for like graphic design. You know, like I don't know. I mean that's what my thought is on it. I mean,
yeah, you 100% got it. Like it's exactly that thing. Like the tool that we currently have, they have different purpose and they have a completely different workflow. My main answer usually is that if everyone was happy with Photoshop the way it worked, we would have never had Sketch or Affinity Designer or Adobe XD. Why even Adobe that owns Photoshop, that you can do web design and UI design on Photoshop, but why Adobe decided to create a completely different tool from scratch called Adobe XD is not because like it was trying to compete with itself, compete with Photoshop. It's just different tools for different purposes. And the fact that the Linux designers or like the users that they use Linux every day, they're so used to the fact that yes, Inkscape is good, but it's not perfect for this. But yes, GIMP is okay, but it's not what I really wish, or like I wish you could do something that we're just used to these sort of like, okay, we're gonna make it work even if it's not the best, that we even question when someone tries to do something different or create something different. Like seriously, we have how many different Linux distributions we have out there? Fucking a shit ton. How many graphic design tools for Linux we have? 5. Like that doesn't make sense. On Windows, you have literally like hundreds of different design applications, which like 10 of those are the leading of the industry right now. On macOS, you have the same. Like so many alternatives because everyone tries to improve and change. And on Linux, we're like, no, it's fine for what we have, but I want more distributions because I want to tweak more my desktop environment. That was really weird. That was a weird feedback that I struggle to understand.
Yeah, it's probably coming from people who are not designers, or they're not, or they may not know the difference between like UI and UX. That's my guess, you know. Yeah,
probably. And yeah, it also speaks to the fact that designers are not on Linux. They don't use Linux. So
I mean they just go straight for a Mac and get their Adobe products and they're good to go.
Yeah, exactly. Which is, it's kind of absurd. And I talk with a lot of developers, like developers are kind of forced to use design application, because when a designer sends them the files in order to build the website, the interface, whatever, you need to open the file. So developers are forced to use Macs, or like being on macOS, just to open Sketch files.
Right.
And literally, like, coding on Mac is harder and less easier than coding on Linux. Linux is way superior in terms of development, in order to, like, you can build whatever environment you need to code on Linux. Mac OS and Windows, you have so many limitations. You need some specific tools that can do something. You cannot have multiple environments, otherwise you're going to destroy your operating system. Linux can handle that super easily.
Oh,
but,
yeah, definitely.
yeah, but developers are forced to use Apple products because of design tools. So
Yeah.
that's what I'm trying to solve. But yeah, that was the main thing. And yeah, no, developing, like, dealing and managing a Kickstarter campaign is the worst thing ever. It's just terrible.
Yeah.
I don't recommend it.
And so you're raising money because you've got a few developers already that are ready to work on this?
Yeah, exactly. I have other 3 amazing developers that I've been working with for the past year. They helped me a lot on Sequeler and Taxi and releasing some Flatpak for the applications that I built. But one of these developers, his name is Alberto, is one of the maintainers of Glade. Glade is a user interface design tool to generate only GTK code, GTK application. So it's just to create Linux interfaces of desktop widgets. It's not what?
I used Glade so long ago. I've completely forgotten about it.
Yeah, no, I never use it because I don't need to, like, I create the interfaces via code. I don't use a visual designer to generate code. But he knows, he's very well into this world of user interfaces and designing tool, and he wants to build this thing. And also I have other 2, Felipe and Bilal, which are, so, like, one is from Mexico, the other one is from Brussels. It's just amazing developers. It's just, they're all, like, super smart, and they're helping me, and we're trying to build a usable prototype just to boost the campaign. We'll see how it goes. I have other, like, podcast interviews and featured articles and stuff like that just to push the campaign. But we'll see. I'm learning a lot. Like, I did a lot of mistakes before launching the campaign. I should have done so many different things, and now I know. But it was my first time. I have no idea.
Yeah, I can't help you at all. I've never done a Kickstarter campaign, and I'm terrible with marketing. So.
Oh yeah, no. So my wife was like, she works in marketing. She does this thing. Like, you should have done that. You should have done. You never asked me about this thing. So, like, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I just wanted to. I'm a developer. It's just like, I build it. I want to ship it. That's it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, exactly. I mean, I feel like if I build it, people will just buy it, right?
Exactly. Deploy it. Just deploy it. Look at it. Yeah. Wow. It's okay. Moving on, talking about WordPress, you also recently released your new website, right?
Yep. Yeah, I did it completely with Oxygen Builder.
Nice. How was your experience?
I really enjoyed it. I think Oxygen is something that, if you know how to develop a theme, it's a really great tool to build themes faster. Because, like, yes, I know I can code all this stuff, but I just want to focus on the design and ship it and code the parts that I really need to code. So I really like that Oxygen Builder allows you to do all that stuff. It's just kind of like a design tool. But if you're like, you know what, I need to make a specific WordPress query, a specific WordPress loop, like, you can just custom code that. You can inject PHP wherever you want. So I think it's a tool where I've seen people, like, on the community groups where they're like, you know, they obviously don't even know what Flexbox is. And I think some people get it because they're just like, oh, it's a cool design tool. But then they really get into it and they're like, I don't really know what I'm doing WordPress wise, you know?
Yeah.
But if you know WordPress, like, it's just amazing. Like, I had been kind of struggling with, like, redesigning my site throughout pretty much all of 2018. And then I started playing with Oxygen after I think your review build video you did. And I was like, this is awesome, you know.
Yeah, it's
And then I built the whole thing in like a week, and just in my
amazing.
spare time, and it was awesome. I
Yeah,
loved
it's
it.
definitely a design, sort of like a design tool for developers, which
Yeah,
it's perfect. Like, it's, if you're not a designer, it doesn't matter, because it helps you to understand like small things and helps you to build the interface. But if you're a developer, you can write your own code and tweak it, as you said. It's great. It's different from other page builders where you just have the front facing, and the only thing that you can do is just a couple of CSS manual input, and that's it.
right.
Yeah, no, it's I decided to not use any page builder or anything, because I'm a control freak, and I wanted to design my own interface and tweak it and make it as I wanted. So, and
You
also
use Tailwind for yours, right?
yeah, I use Tailwind, which I love it. Oh my god, can you implement Tailwind in Oxygen Builder? That would be great.
No, they allow. I mean, you can just make a plugin that would just load it, I would think. So,
Wow.
yeah, I think you would be able to.
Yeah, I will give it a shot. I'll give it a try. Yeah, I use Tailwind, and I started with the AWPS, my starter theme, and
Great starter theme, by the way.
thank you. I have a version 4 ready to be shipped, like probably in next week or a couple of weeks. I have so many new things that I use to build the new website. So at the beginning I was trying to I was like on the trend, like, I hate Gutenberg, it's too complicated, it's messing things up. I'm gonna try to tweak it with this, and I'm going to hack it and remove it. I installed the classic editor, blah blah. But then I had the front end, that which it was loading, I guess like 10 different JavaScript files and 10 different CSS files. And plus I had the analytics and the AdSense and Amazon ads and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, the website, it looks really simple and clean, but the code was really bloated, and it was taking us so long to load just a simple page. I was getting so pissed. And then I tried to implement the lazy loading of images with a plugin, or I use Jetpack, the default plugin by Automatic. It has all the lazy loading and all these improvements, supposedly improvements for this thing. It was terrible. It was just so slow and bloated. And it's all based on jQuery, which I don't understand why we still base shit on jQuery. So
even vanilla JavaScript, you can do everything. I mean, it used to be kind of a pain to do some of this stuff, but that's where jQuery really shined. But now, like, you can do so much in just vanilla JavaScript pretty easily that you really don't need jQuery.
It's true, absolutely. So I had a tantrum, and I decided, that's it, I'm gonna remove everything. So literally now I have 6 plugins on my entire website, which one is Akismet, just for spam. The other one is for the podcast, to have the RSS feed recognized by Spotify and Apple Podcasts and all this thing. Yoast SEO, because it's great. And what do I have else? Let me check.
But you had some kind of analytics that you were talking about on Twitter today, right? That was just tracking it inside your database, as opposed to like Google Analytics.
Yeah, I have
what size underwear you're wearing.
Oh yeah, that was my main things. Yeah, no, I have a super simple, nice, seriously simple podcasting, which is the plugin that releases the RSS feed, and they have this built-in statistic thing that simply saves your plays whenever there's a hit on your RSS feed link. It saves that +1 in your database.
Very nice.
That's it. Like, you don't know where it's coming from, you don't know who did it, you don't know whatever the IP address, you just have a count of how many times your podcast was played. And because the hit comes from an app, you know if it comes from iTunes, or it comes from Overcast, or if it comes from another app. That's the only things that you know, how many plays and which app was used. That's it. And that's the only thing that I need to use, that I need to know. I don't care who you are, how old are you, your bank account.
Yeah, Google Analytics, I mean, I do like it because I like to see, what people are doing on the site. Like, are they staying on the site? Are they going to different pages? But there's a lot of stuff in there that's like, why do I need this?
It's overwhelming. Like, It's all based on marketing. It's all based on user retention and try to convert the user and the funnels and try to sell more stuff. And the shitty thing that it follows you around. Like because the entire web is just Google, you access a website that has Google Analytics, then you have your custom ID or your unique ID, and then you go around on another website with Analytics, and then like it's connected. Google knows that you've been browsing from website A to website B to website C, and you're back to website A. And us as developers or whatever SEO expert inside of Google Analytics, it knows that. It knows your entire history. Oh, this guy came from this site and then left at this point, but then came back. Like it remembers you. Just it's fucking so sketchy. Just terrible. Oh, the other two plugins that I have, it's Contact Form 7, just for the simple contact form, and then Discuss Discuss with a Q, is the comment thing for WordPress, which the default comment of section for WordPress is kind of bad, was never updated in the past 10 years. So I'm using the Discuss plugin.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, that's it.
I'm still using just regular WordPress comments, but nobody leaves me comments.
I'm gonna start leaving you comments so you can see how bad it is to manage things.
Yeah, no, I do have the Ask Emmett in there because I forgot to reinstall that when I launched the new site, and it was just like the next day I had like 10 comments. They're all like, from these horrible email addresses with a bunch of numbers, and they're like, your blog is awesome, but you should talk more about hip replacements from my website here. What?
Yeah, makes sense, right? Yeah, so I decided to go like all these, just this bare minimum of plugins, and that's it. All the features and functionalities and all the rest, it's all simple WordPress code. So the homepage that has all those 4 blocks, those are literally custom Walker nav class with 4 custom menus that I print with. Those are like the main menu and the sub menus, and the future image is coming from the actual first page of those 4 links. The fact that when you load an image, at first it's blurry and then it loads the normal version, that's a simple npm script which I downloaded and installed it. And all my images now, first it loads the blurred, that it's 10K version, and then it detects your browser resolution and loads in the background the image with the proper resolution, and then it fades out.
Is that just using the HTML source set?
Yes, exactly.
Cool.
If you check the inspector, all the images, you have the data source set with all the different resolution. It just loads the one that it matches properly. And that's it, really. Then all the widgets are the default widgets of WordPress. It's just regular pages. And I'm using Gutenberg. I embrace Gutenberg to like write all my content. And it still has a lot of bugs, especially if I have a big page. It starts flickering the shit. Like sometimes I type in a paragraph and the cursor just like glitches a second and it goes in the previous paragraph. So I have half a sentence in a paragraph, half a sentence in another. It happens so randomly. If I have big images, it's kind of like weird. There is still not, it's not ready. It's not ready for production, even if it's in production. It's not ready at all.
I've had some issues too, because I switched to Gutenberg when I launched the new site, because that's when I finally upgraded to 5.0. Whatever it's on now, 2 or something.
3.
And 3. Yeah. Security updates, yay. Yeah. And I've had some issues too, where like I was writing a post and I was trying to put in an image and it kept putting the image like not where I wanted it or something. And I'd have to move things around. And then another thing I found was like the images inside Gutenberg had a different class on it, so they weren't centered right. So then I had to actually add like a CSS selector to center my images correctly. And so, I mean, it wasn't a big pain, but yeah, like you said, it's not production ready. It still feels like a beta.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, no, other than that, by not trying to tweak WordPress and not trying to make it act like I want to, I totally embrace WordPress. Okay, this is a CMS. I have to use these scripts. If I want to do this, I'm going to use whatever the codex or the developer resources they suggest to use. And by doing that, my code base is really light. It's really easy to update. I'm not using any plugins. I'm not constantly updating plugins because there are one update per day. And it's really fast. It's just like stupid fast. Yeah, I'm actually enjoyed a lot the building process because I wasn't fighting against the logic of WordPress. I was just following it.
You haven't installed 50 custom blocks?
No, I haven't. 0 custom blocks. I decided if I want to have a custom UI or like a crazy user interface, I'm going to build a regular template in PHP and just print the content as like coming from the content of WordPress. That's it. I'm not going to try to hack it and just have user interface to manipulate all those things. I don't need that. So yeah, I'm pretty happy. And
yeah, that's good to hear.
Awesome. Okay, we're almost at the end of this amazing episode, and we got a question from, I don't know how to pronounce his name, but he's an amazing dude that follows both of us on Twitter, and he's always active.
Oh yeah, he's very active. He's a great guy to talk to.
Yeah. Le Bahirwa, something like that. Do you wanna try to say his name?
I thought it was like that. Le Bahirwa.
Okay, great.
Terrible.
Yeah, so
he's gonna unfollow both of us now.
Yeah, exactly. He's gonna give us a middle finger. I mean, a GIF, and then unfollow us. What did he ask?
Yeah, so he was saying for him, Gutenberg was 50-50. Would have preferred it as a plugin and as an option of tiny MCE affecting the editor section, which I agree. I think they should have left it classic and been like, hey, you want to try out the new Gutenberg editor? It's a plugin, as opposed to the reverse, where now the classic editor is a plugin. And then he asked, have you found areas where it's not suitable for current use?
Yes. Yes, so many things. Well, the very own fact that all the plugins that they were editing or touching in any way the editor page, now they don't work anymore. So if you had like some custom fields or custom meta boxes that were created not respecting 100% the code convention of WordPress, those custom fields, they don't work. And that's it. Like literally you can use Gutenberg just to write content. You cannot use Gutenberg to build interfaces or tweak or edit the visual aspect of your page. Is just for the text.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people did get hung up on that when they were releasing Gutenberg. People were thinking that it was like a page builder.
Yes.
And it's not. I mean, I use 2 blocks. I use text, well, 3, I guess. Headings, text, and images.
Yes.
And that's all I use it for. It's just the content. And I'm sure there's going to be some theme developers out there that are like, oh, download the theme and it's got 50 blocks and you can do whatever you want with it. And it's just pretty much just printing out the content on every place. And it's just all these blocks.
Yeah.
But I think it's best used as, like you said, just the content.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, already there are a lot of plugins where they have like 50 plus custom blocks where you can kind of like use Gutenberg to build the layout. Kind of like it feels like Elementor. Just like copy paste, drag and drop your blocks and create the layout and things, but it's not suitable for that. I don't know if it was intended for that type of use, but right now it's not. Probably in the future will evolve, but right now don't hack it. Don't try to tweak it, especially because the development of Gutenberg is still so active. They release new code and they patch it every day. It's gonna change drastically in the next couple of versions of WordPress. So all the things that you currently use that are custom, they're gonna break once every release.
Yeah, and I think that if you want to make a theme that is highly customizable by your users, just use the customizer. I mean, that's what it's built for. I mean, you've got like the color selectors and all this stuff that you can you can change, and you can see as it affects the page, as you code it, like, hey, I want this heading to be tied to this color or to this font or whatever. Like, just use that. Just use what WordPress built for you to do that exact thing.
Yeah, exactly. Just use the custom templates of WordPress. Don't try to hack it in a way. Just create some templates variation that the user can select in their pages, in the customizer as well. Create some header variations that you can give the user the ability to select. Sure. Yeah, there are a lot of, like, WordPress. It's kind of like can do a lot, and it's super scalable, but the approach, it's a bit old. You need to code these things in order to make them work. Users today, because we are in a visual world, they expect, I can just go into the admin dashboard and visually change everything that I want.
Yeah.
But no, you can't. And WordPress is trying to avoid that. Up until before the version 5, it was kind of like you install a plugin that completely destroys the admin dashboard and makes you use it the way you want. But WordPress is trying to probably kind of like have a little bit of ownership of how the dashboard looks and how you should actually code WordPress themes. So yeah, a lot of users are upset about it, but whatever. We'll see. We'll see where it goes. So we have we have a recommendation in our Read, Listen, Watch section. I listened yesterday to a podcast interview from the Basecamp CEO Jason Fried on the Recode Decode podcast. And it was mostly focused on why like venture capital money are terrible and they kill business. And venture capital is just a stupid thing and shouldn't happen, and I 100% agree. But like he went through and they talked about overall how Basecamp was formed and how Basecamp is capable of staying up in business without growing. They have like 50 employees or something. They don't want to grow, but are super competitive, and they never did a round of fundings. They're super profitable, and it's just a great interview to understand this guy, Jason Fried, is a sane person. He's one of the few sane CEOs out there that knows how to deal with a company and how to build a company, and he gives great advice. He's the author of the book, It Doesn't Have to Be Crazy at Work, which is phenomenal. And yeah, it's highly recommended.
Yeah, I saw him speak in Chicago last year at Laracon.
Oh, really?
And he was talking all about business, and it was kind of like an open Q&A. And he was saying that like they have these teams of developers, and they gave them a project where it's like the client wants this whatever web application, PWA or whatever it is, and they basically say like, all right, we're going to build it in the next, I don't remember what it was, 12 weeks, I think. And somebody was like, well, what if you go over budget? What if it takes longer than 12 weeks? And he's like, we don't take any project that we know will take more than 12 weeks. So it should be less than that.
Yeah.
He's like, if it's a bigger project than that, we don't even take the client.
Yeah.
And I was just like, man, that is crazy. Like, I can't imagine, like, as somebody who does a little bit of freelance on the side, and I've thought about, like, oh man, maybe one day I could like leave my job and run my own business. Like, I can't imagine just turning down work and saying that's too much work for me. Like, but I mean, it's obviously it's been successful for him and his business.
Yeah, he talked about this in the podcast as well. It's a good approach. He said that like basically at the core, you cannot, like, physically, your brain cannot stay on the same thing for 6 months or 8 months or a year. Those are like a rabbit hole, and they're projects that never end, and they're just gonna destroy your passion, destroy your just like the quality of your work is going down. So it forces to just he decided to not get big projects, which it's really interesting.
I completely agree with that. I've been the sole developer on a project since about around July, August time. And just now, in like the last few weeks, I've been like turning it over to other developers to kind of maintain it and add new features and stuff. And like the other day, I was just working on a completely different project for the first time, and it was like, yes, like I'm so tired of that project. I want to do something else. So yeah, I mean, to be able to work on a different project every 12 weeks would be amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty incredible. No, I like his philosophy. I like his approach, and I'm relating to him, especially now that I'm this inside the startup environment. I'm starting to see like a lot of things that he talked about. It's like, yes, that's absolutely true. These things doesn't work. So yeah, absolutely recommend it. Check the podcast. It's a great guy, definitely. Okay, so we are at the end of our episode. We talked about a lot of different things, and I always enjoy that. Do you have anything to add on, Chris? Like, do you want to advertise something you're working on, or it's something else we missed?
No, not currently. The open source project I talked about at the very beginning definitely doesn't have anything built yet. But once I start getting it built, I would love to get some community work on it, and maybe people find pitfalls or find bugs, fix things, add features. I think it'd be a cool thing to have a community project going on.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. I'm really excited to see it. I'm gonna create a lot of bug reports, even if they're not there, just to bother you. Just say, hey, this button should look blue. Just stuff like that.
So I can wake up in the morning to 10 GitHub emails.
Yeah. Hey, make it pop more. Just this stupid feedback that don't mean anything, right?
I already get enough emails from Fitbit on my watch face. So.
Oh, wow. Oh, nice.
I broke something. I was using the old SDK, and then all of a sudden I started getting like 3 emails a day. This thing's broken. Like what?
That happens. So where people can find you, Chris?
You can find me on Twitter at Chris J. Perko. You can find me on YouTube, Instagram, wherever.
Nice. And
you can find me.
Yeah.
I'm the only Chris Perko, so it's not that hard.
The only Chris Perko, the one and only available around here. That's great. Yes, you can find me on Twitter as well at Alicad, and all the links are in the description below this podcast. If you're listening to this podcast, whatever, if you're listening to a platform like Apple Podcasts or Spotify, just give us a review. Just give us a star, or maybe 5 stars, or write if you hate us, or if you love us, or if you want to ask us to talk about something. For the rest, thank you guys so much for listening, and until the next one, happy coding.
Bye. Couldn't think of anything.
I'm gonna leave it in.